Perhaps it's happened to you. You find yourself on a road trip. There's a zippy song. Your fingers are dancing on the steering wheel. And then you start listening to the words and you think, what am I listening to right now? Well, I felt a little bit of that feeling as I read this morning's gospel. The Beatitudes, the declaration of God's blessings that Jesus promises in this morning's gospel, they're some of the most beautiful words of Jesus that you will ever hear. But I have to admit that I did a little bit of a double take as I read this passage. Our reading starts with Jesus and his newly named apostles in the mountainy region of Tyre and Sidon. There we hear that Jesus was doing what Jesus does best, healing people. We're told that power came out of him and that just by touching Jesus, one could be completely healed. So it struck me as odd that once Jesus came down the mountain to address a great crowd made up of people who were poor, who were hungry, who were weeping, who were hated, that's all he had to say to them was, "Blessed are you." This was the very person who 2 verses ago healed anyone who came to him. So to me, it begged the question, why not just make things right for these people too? Perhaps you've wondered the same thing. Why can't God just fix this thing, this situation, the source of pain in my life? So on the literal level, it's hard to reconcile these 2 parts of the gospel. A God who starts off by making everything right, and then a God who just seems to observe our suffering and perhaps somewhat callously just offer us a blessing. But on an allegorical level, this is the story of our salvation. A promise about the future and an insight as to how God works in the present. Our gospel reading starts out with Christ on high, always a symbol for God's presence, God's kingdom, God's reality. It is here we are given a promise of our future. That promise is a simple one, but a powerful one. That one day we will end up in a place where all is well. The ailments that plague us will be healed. The troubles that weigh on our spirit will be cured. Not through merit, not through deservedness, but simply by being next to God's radiance. Being in the presence of the fountain of life and the source of all goodness. Christ assures us that all shall be made well. He promises us that day is coming. Then we hear Christ came down to a level place, or as we say in the Creed, he came down from heaven. It was here Christ, as one of us, felt the pain of this world, the poverty, the hunger, the weeping, the hate. Curiously enough, God didn't stop it. God doesn't stop it from happening to us, and God didn't stop it from happening to God's only begotten Son. But what we do see in the person of Christ is consolation, the being with, as the root words describe. Being with us in humanity's pain. Bernard of Clairvaux beautifully expressed this when he wrote that since God is perfect, God cannot suffer. But God can suffer with. That's divine consolation. Not the expectation that God will take away our pain, but the assurance that God is with us in our pain. Sometimes things are made right in this world, and great when that happens. But our real hope as Christians is that everything, every ailment, every trouble we carry will be made right in the next world. And to hold us through that time, we have consolation, the promise of God being with us, being our rock in this world and our Redeemer in the next. Our gospel curiously ends with a declaration of woes. A weird way to end such a beautiful passage, so much so that Matthew just left them all out in his version. But Luke pressed on. So what are we to make of these declarations of woe that Christ issues? Does God despise those who have wealth, those who are full, those who laugh, those who are admired? I don't think so. In his commentary on Luke, Bishop Barron rewrites the woes as blessings. And he asks 3 questions. How lucky are you if you're not addicted to material things? How lucky are you if you're not addicted to feeling good all the time? How lucky are you if you're not addicted to the approval of others? Comfort, laughter, and admiration are all wonderful things when they incidentally occur. But when our quest becomes to find them, nothing good comes of that. We replace our dependence on God with dependence on ourselves. We become the person who is in charge of making ourselves happy, admired, and comfortable. Sometimes that works out for a while, but the crash is hard when that stops working. Keep me at the center of your life and not yourself, Christ pleads with these woes. Because when I am at the center of your life, all will be made well. That, my friends, is simply today's good news. That God is with us, and somehow, some way, someday, all will be made well.